Hi, I'm Richard Krueger from the University of Minnesota. Today we're going to be talking about some basic principles of analysis for focus group interviewing. And one of the big ideas that we need to emphasize is analysis can vary. There's no one style of analysis that is always better. Much will depend upon the situation. For example, one of the factors is how much time you have available. And there are ways of doing analysis that are very time-consuming and often more rigorous, and there are times and situations of doing analysis that use far less time. Another one is of how do you intend to use the results? Are the results going to be used for something that is of enormous consequence that cannot be reversed? Or is it something that if a change is needed, it can easily be modified? Such as maybe a monthly newsletter, where if it isn't working, you can change it the next month and it doesn't have huge consequences. Sometimes analysis can vary depending upon the interest of the sponsor of the study or the nature of the environment. Is it for academic research? Is it for a client who is on a very short timeline who has to have results very quickly? And all of these things sort of add into the variability of analysis. But there are a couple characteristics that are really important, and that is that analysis needs to be systematic and also verifiable. And we'll come back and talk about those two things in just a moment. Here's one way of thinking about analysis, that there's sort of four major categories, and by the way, these are sort of on a continuum, and there could be many variations and nuances between them. But on one hand, you have analysis that's based primarily on the memory, where the memory is the key factor of the people who are capturing the data, and they want very quick results. In professional market researchers, this one is used fairly common. It isn't very common in academic research because they typically want to have more rigor in the process. Or you could have analysis that's based primarily on field notes, plus using memory. Again, the advantage here is that it's a fairly rapid system. You could capture it fairly quickly. But the downside is that it doesn't have as much of the rigor as some of the others do. Still, another step up is using audio plus field notes and memory. And then finally, using full transcripts, which includes the audio, the notes, and the memory. They represent different kinds of analysis strategies. Earlier, when we talked about systematic, what we talked about is that you need to have a system, a series of sequence steps that you follow, and that you need to not only follow those consistently, but you need to be able to explain them to other people. And so the mandate of being systematic is not only that you have a series of steps, but that you're able to communicate that as well. And the second one is verifiable. Verifiable is sort of like the breadcrumbs that you've left along the way, is that someone else can come in and take a look at the stream of data. And is it possible to replicate it? Can they examine what are the steps that are involved? Now, here's some important things to think about. That we've done analysis on focus groups for a number of years, and these are a couple things that are not mentioned very often in the literature. One of these, the person who does the analysis, the analyst, should be present in as many of the focus groups as possible. There's a number of things that are acquired by being there in the group that just by reading the transcript you miss. And so by being present in the group, seeing the energy level of how people talk to each other, getting a sense of the emotions that are taking place, this is a very important factor. And that some things that happen occur within these groups that really need to be watched and observed, and that may not be present just in the transcript. Another bit of information, a tip to follow, is that allowing a gap between your first and your second focus group. Because one of the things that happens is that after doing the first focus group, you might be identifying certain things that need to change, that need to be revised. And so by allowing not just an hour or a few minutes, but allowing a day or two where you can actually go through, look at the transcript, listen to it, identify the things to change, that is often a place where you can make important improvements. Well, this concludes our beginning of analysis. In our next session, we're going to be talking about the classic method of analysis, which is one that's been used by focus group analysts for a number of years. So take a look at our next session on how to use the classic method. Thank you.